I am not under the influence of drugs. This is just how I am. Cool. Hello, internet friends. It's your old pal Kat back again for another episode of Librophiliac Knits. I'm coming to you from a lovely May morning in Minnesota. So much alliteration. A marvelous May, Minnesota morning. I am here to talk to you today about being in my completionist era. That's what I wanted to talk about today. Elephant in the room. Hello. I started and finished a whole sweater in a month. Isn't this amazing? This is my throwback cardigan with buttons. I added buttons because I live in Minnesota. It gets drafty around here. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this collar work. Oh my gosh. Okay, so full disclosure, have not blocked yet. No surprise. And I have one button that doesn't match, but I did my best. They're also not perfectly spaced, and I don't care. So that was my one completed, my most exciting. I think that probably was my only finished object since the last time we spoke, because it took over my whole brain. I couldn't stop working on it, and I'm so pleased with it. It's so beautiful. And it sort of was like pushing a boulder downhill. It really got things rolling for me, motivationally speaking, because all of a sudden I really wanted to revisit all of my works in progress. This was not a work in progress. This was not something that had been lingering. This was even worse. This was like hanging over my head for years. I wanted to make this sweater. I knew I wanted to make this sweater. I bought yarn to make this sweater. Look at, can you see how different the two? These definitely weren't from the same dye lot, and I don't care. The only time you're going to see is when I show you. I bought this yarn at Darn Knit Anyway in Stillwater, Minnesota on super duper sale, and I bought it absolutely with the intention of knitting this sweater. This lovely middle color is the button jar blue from Madeline Tosh that has been lurking in my stash pretty much since I started knitting again as an adult. It was probably one of the first skeins of yarn that I purchased, and it was so precious. I couldn't find something to do with it, and finally I was like, no, I'm using it for this. And then the one time I've ever bought spin cycle yarns, that's this darker color here. I think it's Melancholia, but I can't remember offhand. And then this you might recognize from the flowers in that sweater that I made up and made for myself. Sort of a light brown and rose situation happening. And then it's got this for the flowers. And I think I talked about it last time that I ended up being inspired in this color combination by an oven mitt that has been lurking about my house for a decade, if not more. And that was super random and great. I mean, the oven mitt is like past its prime, so to have this color story continue in my life is really okay. And this sweater was cast on as a self-soothing method, which it was very effective in distracting me from the fact that my little buddy isn't on my lap anymore, and it kept me company while I was watching my friends, including Wax. Hi, Wax! Who were out of town skating in a in a roller derby tournament. I had a lot of fun watching them and cheering loud all by myself. And yeah, I don't know. It was just great all around. And because of that, when I set goals for myself every month, and in terms of my making and in terms of like my personal life stuff, things I want to get done. And most of the time it's making and like reading related. But this month I wrote it down, so I'm looking at, I had to sort of revisit some of the same goals that I had set for myself last month, like continue with 100 days of long draw, which I am failing at miserably. Here it is. I did 15 minutes today and 30 minutes one other day this month, and I think that's it so far. But look how much. And I did acquire a new, this one was probably a different 15 minutes. So maybe 3 days, but whatever. It's the 8th of May, so I'm 5 days behind. But I got some new spindles. Look how fun this is. Off of the Ravelry People's D-Stash. Lovely woman sent these to me, and obviously I haven't used the zebra one yet, but I'm excited to try it out. So, finishing the throwback was one of my other goals, so that one is achieved. I did also knit myself pockets for this sweater, which I have not applied. I'm not sure if I will. It kind of is working well without them. I have a feeling that it's gonna mar the line. Here, this part. Because this is so deep, if I make I made a flat, I can show you 2 of them, but I made a flat pocket with, and I just can't figure out, either it cuts into the ribbing in a strange way, or it goes all the way up to my boob, and that also is pretty, I don't think that'll work. I also considered putting it on the inside so that it's just a place to tuck my phone, because that's usually the thing that I really need pockets for. I mean, the sleeves, I don't know if you saw this, but these sleeves are made for hiding your hands, so I don't need pockets to tuck my hands away and be warm. I need a pocket for my phone, because sometimes I wear things that don't have pockets on my lower half, and I'm a technophile, so I can't be without it. The telephone. So finished throwback, 100 days long draw, and then the sock. That was the other thing, that was the repeat. And at this time I was thinking, this sock has been driving me nuts for so long that maybe I'll just frog it. Maybe I'll just frog the heel. Never mind. Like, stupid thing. This is a DRK Everyday sock by Andrea Mari. And when I left off, I was in the middle of the increases here. And spoiler alert, look, I got past it. I was here. And I didn't know how many more increases I needed to do to finish the gusset. And I was super frustrated with it. And I don't really know why. Because when I went back and looked at it, I was done with the increases. Like, I had just achieved the number that I needed, but I never counted. I was at work, I think, and it was not the right place to be doing that. I was too distracted. I had to put it down. I was like, this isn't working. And then I assumed that this isn't working that I was having in the middle of the night, when I had more important things to be doing. That in my brain somehow translated like to, this is too hard, I can't. When it turned out to just be, no, you need to sit down when you have a quiet moment and just count and figure out where you are. And it turns out that I was at the part where you turn the heel. So, ta-da! And then, look at how long and skinny and ridiculous this thing looks. I just tried it on, and it fits my foot perfectly. So I'm working on and I don't know if I've done toe-up socks before, but I'm liking it so far. I'm playing with it out of the viewpoint. Sorry, there was a bird. Squirrel! So this is why I say I'm in my completionist era, because going back and looking at this and realizing that it was like an oh duh moment, like absolutely I can fix this and continue with it and then make the other sock and then be done. Oh my gosh, and have socks that are for me and they're super soft. I suppose I should do all the usual specs. What is going on with this sock? I have Patton's Croix FX, maybe. I have no idea what the colorway is called. It might be something about circuses or parrots. I can't remember. But super fun, rainbowy. And then this is Knit Picks. It has cashmere in it. I probably completely chose wrong in terms of like the wear and tear of the toe and the heel is where I put the super soft. I don't care. I'm doing it anyway. This is super soft. So this is some kind of Knit Picks. I don't remember. I've used it before, so I will link in the description box below my Ravelry project pages if you are so inclined. And you can use Ravelry because I know it gives people some problems, and I always feel a little bit guilty about only linking Ravelry project pages, but I don't have anywhere else that I store that information because I don't know, I don't have that problem. I put I work nights, so I put my phone on dark mode, and when I do run into things that are all like bright white, oh my gosh, it does hurt my brain, and I get it. But in dark mode, me and my phone get along pretty well, even on Ravelry. So having had a look at that and realized that it was going fine and wanting something simple to work on because that's just where I'm at right now. I went back and looked at my whole Ravelry queue. It has 12 works in progress right now, and one of them is the Woolly Tops triangle wrap. Maybe? Is that what it's called? Hang on, I think I wrote it down. Woolly Tops Triangle Scarf by Kadri. And I'm using, box store floofy stuff. I don't remember what it's called. I just liked this yellow. So mustardy. And I am not following the pattern because I had dropped a whole bunch of stitches and I was in the middle of a row. And so I picked up and just started knitting when I should have been purling. And then I've done it a couple of other times, so it looks slightly more deliberate. It is really simple and going quickly and making me happy. And that was also something I had sort of given up for dead. Didn't think that I was ever going to finish. And there's another one of those. This old friend you may recognize from last year. I don't think I was talking to you then, actually. I know that I have talked to you about this because I told you about Stephen West and his disastrous first clue. But so I got through clue 1 and I got through clue 2. Spoiler alert, from last year sometime. And clue 3, I hate it. I hate it. I want to rip it all out. The problem is it's fine. Like, there's nothing really wrong with it. But what I dislike about it is that I can't count. And there's so much counting. It's like, do this, and then do this, and then do this, and then do this. And it's all counting. And I kept doing it wrong. And I can see it, like, this whole row right here. So, here, let's see if we can find... Do you see how it's got these fun, like, diagonal lines? That's what it's supposed to be doing. And then up here, something went terribly wrong with my counting, and now it's just this weird stripe that goes all the way across. And I hate it. I must have lost track of something. And like every single row or every single stripe of color has at least one screw up all the way across. So I was thinking about it and I was like, in light of how many little tiny stripes there are, I'm not going to frog the whole thing. But I was thinking about frogging just this part because with all these slip stitches, there's like a lot of yarn getting sort of, I don't want to say wasted, but that's what it feels like. That I'm using a lot of yarn, and this stuff is very precious. It's hand spun. And as it turns out, I mean, look, I was running a little bit low. Like, this is supposed to get me through 2 more clue, or the other half of clue 3 and then a whole nother clue. And ditto for this little guy. These are both kind of small. This one's on a toilet paper roll, so it's hard to say. But, you know, it looks like I have so much more of this, but I don't necessarily. And then this one was part of a, like, 2 of the, like, I had 2 of these, and I took one away in order to complete this. And I'm sort of regretting that too, because 2 fingering weight skeins is like almost a whole sweater. So I killed a sweater quantity. I don't know. So thinking about this, and what do I want to do with it? Am I going to frog it? Do I want to look? Do I have a colors theme at all? Anyone? No. No, I don't plan to frog it, but I was thinking about frogging at least part of clue 3, or just continuing from here and not. It's gonna look really weird though if I could finish this wing in the current pattern, but I just don't like it. I could go back to where all of these disastrous, like, across, I mean, that was only 2 colors ago. I got it right the next 2. I could just leave it and keep going. But what I was thinking, if I were to continue, would be to do the second wing, you know, because that's what you do. You pick up and you make another wing across from the other side, and then it ends up being like a big, I mean, almost a half moon shawl. But I was thinking that instead of doing these goofy slip stitch stripes, if I did it with just like knits and pearls so that it was like Guernsey, I could still get the same effect, use less yarn, and be less annoyed because the counting would be easier. Like I could just read it instead of having to like count to 4 constantly. Maybe. Oh yeah, and then there was the whole problem where I did one side upside down. God, I forgot about that. Which would be another reason to just do something totally different on the other side. But I don't, you know, it's like, I don't want to just leave this languishing forever, but it didn't make me happy. Like, this whole section is annoying me. And then section 4, I was looking at it, and it's really pretty. And I want to try it. But I have to slog through section 3 to get to 4. Yeah. And if I'm running out of yarn, I can always dip into the second ball of this that I have, or find something else. I don't know. This is so precious. And the lady that made this isn't doing it anymore. She took her Etsy shop down. The Woolly Witch. Oh, but that reminds me. This weekend is the Shepherd's Harvest Festival. And she is local to Minnesota, so maybe I will find her there or something. That'd be cool. I don't know. I'm hoping to drag my whole family out for Mother's Day, including my friend Wax, who is basically a member of the family, don't you think? I want to go for Mother's Day, and as you can see, I am swimming in yarn at all times. You can't see it, but it's all around me. You know, this is an indicator. It's everywhere around. Like, I am sitting basically in the eye of a hurricane of yarn right now. And that's how I like it. But like, do I need to buy any more fleeces? No. Do I need to buy any more yarn? No. Do I have a feeling that I still will? Yes. I am trying to figure out how to limit myself. So like, I'm on my new spindle journey, and now I am up to 4 support spindles, and well, because Wax gave me this bouquet of drop spindles, I have 5 or 6 of these, and I've been meaning to give one to a coworker so that her daughter can play with them. So I've been going through all of my whips and figuring out, am I gonna finish this? Am I gonna not finish this? What's the deal? So after I finished my throwback and I wanted something easy and quick to make, what I ended up casting on without gauge swatching was the Mini Mock Neck Tank by Jessie Maid. It's so cute, and I messed up so bad, I have to frog this. That's what I mean by I'm going to be in my completionist era. I'm going to make this again, and better. My gauge on a US 4, which is the recommended needle size for this pattern, is off by 3 stitches per inch. So, it is supposed to be a summer top, but when I tried it on, it is straight up see-through. It is totally transparent, which, sometimes maybe I wouldn't mind. But no, the part that actually gets me the most, that makes me the maddest, is not the see-through. Like, I could handle some see-through because I wear sports bra type stuff a lot of the time, and that conceals whatever needs concealment. But this is the part that's actually driving me nuts. This super cute armhole bit, it just wants to fold under every time. Like, it's too loose, and so it folds under. I did it over here. I put it on, and it just bloop. It's like weirdly baggy and just not doing what I want it to do. So I'm gonna frog it. I'm gonna double check instead of just going for it with a different size. I'm gonna double check that a size 3 needle will work for the actual gauge that I'm supposed to get, and then I'm gonna cast this sucker on again, because yeah, it took like a week or 2, but it wasn't difficult, and I was already planning to make more of them because I like it, and I was also already planning to return the 3rd skein of the Knitting for Olive Pure Silk, because look how much I have left. And I was like, this is the length where I would be happy to already start the ribbing, and then it's just the mock neck bit, and I'm done. There's way more than enough, and I have a whole other ball of this yarn, and that's where things started to get my brain a-whirling, because I'm like, okay, well, do I go back and trade it for a different color but like the same kind of yarn? Do I want to trade it for something totally different? Because when I was in the store, they made it pretty clear that as long as you haven't, unspooled it or done something catastrophic to it, that they'd be cool with exchanges or returns. And I would like to exchange, because one of my other, it says it's a work in progress, but it's the Misurina tee by Caitlin Hunter, Boyland Knitworks. And when I was writing down my list of works in progress to like think aloud, as it were, in my journal about whether or not I would finish things, I said it is a decision misery, because I tried it in Knit Picks Lindy chain, but for some reason I don't like the color options that I have. I originally bought some wool linen blend Cozy Yarn Co. feather yarn, which is what the pattern calls for, but I couldn't afford it. It was like $36 or $38 a skein, so I got one for the contrast color. So I'll have yellow flowers no matter what. But the lindy chain that I had in a sweater quantity was like charcoal. And I guess black and yellow was not the mission I was on for this. I'm not sure what color I do want. So that was another thing I was thinking about. Like, what if, 750 yards, this might be really fun with yellow flowers. But I really do have my little heart set on this being what it is. I just have to fix it. Part one. Part two, I could use that yellow and make another one of these, maybe. Yeah, I can make another one with the ball again. I could make another mini mock neck in that yellow. I would just have to be probably more cognizant because I only have the one skein. But it probably would be enough because I like my crop tops pretty cropped so that it hits at my natural waist, which is, I think I might qualify as pear-shaped. Like, the waist nips in pretty quickly right below my bust line and then comes out with a nice, sort of a cello-esque silhouette, if that makes sense, to my strong lower half. And so, like, if I want to wear something that is cropped, it needs to be cropped pretty short, and then just have nice high-waisted pants or skirt or dress or whatever. But what we're talking about right now is a tank top. So one 450 yard skein or whatever would probably be enough to make another mini mock neck, and then I could just start all over with the Miserina planning. I have one ball of the lindy chain in sort of a coral pink color, and that would be great for flowers. I still don't know if I would want to use that do black and pink. I don't know. See, these are the musings. These are the continual musings. And then I bought 2 skeins of Illimani Sabri last year when I was in San Diego with the plan of making a racerback tank. I'm really on this like summer knitting kick. I want all the tank tops to be hand knits. But then, I finished my cable drape and it's like too precious. I can't wear it. So this is going to be stupid if I don't wear this stuff. Yeah. Like today, I was going to put it on and then I was like, nah, I'm taking the dog for a walk after this. So never mind. I don't think I want to get all sweaty in it right away. Not like that. What else? I must consult my list. Please excuse me. So I haven't made a hexipoof in like a year for the beekeeper's quilts that I allegedly was working on pretty consistently before, and then all of a sudden I just stopped making them. I think I haven't made one since I got to labor and delivery, although that I might have made one in the very early days, but I don't think so. I'll have been there 2 years in September, so I don't know, man. I finally bought the pattern so I could finish my Navigo romper, of which I was like at the shorts, and it's a bottom up, so I have to finish the tank top bit. But tank tops go pretty quick, so that yeah. All right, revisiting my current whips. Let's go in order. Number 1, frogging the mini mock neck. Number 2, DRK everyday sock. Yep, we went over that. Number 3, I hate the Geo Gradient Clue 3. Number 4, I bought the pattern finished Navigo. Number 5, the triangle scarf. Woolly Tops triangle scarf. Number 6, Miserina. Number 7 and 8, I have 2 different patterns on Ravelry that I have never either cast on and frogged or never cast on at all, but intended to make for hats. And they are hats, which means that I could have them done in no time flat. And it's so silly that I haven't made them. And one of them is supposed to be a gift, but now it's like May. Nobody needs a hat right this second, but it is an easy on-the-go project that I could do in the summertime. And then I have another hat that I never made a project pattern for, and I cast it on, but I think it's hand spun of my own that is at least partly spun in the grease, or like the wool is not adequately it has not adequately been denuded of lanolin, so it's sticky, it's tacky on the metal needles, and it like I only ever like I keep picking it up like, oh, I should really work on this, and then I knit like 4 stitches, and then I'm like, oh no, this is why I don't. So I'm like trying to figure out, should I just like pull it all out and unball it, like put it back in the skein form and rewash it? Should I just try and power through it and then just wash it thoroughly once it's a hat? I haven't decided. Number 10 was the ghost horses. I really loved doing this color work. Color work is my jam, man. I'm a big fan. I'm pretty quick with the 2-handed knitting. It's not a problem for me. Even with the 3 color, I sorted it out pretty quick. I had 2 colors going in the left hand and 1 in the right, and I just flew right through it, which inspired me. I got it out and looked at it, and it's pretty. I did not note in my project page what size I was making, so I'm probably gonna have to do some counting just to make sure. I have some thrummed mittens that are hard on my hands. I think I've got them too tight, but you know, the thrumming will make them so warm when they're finally finished. And I'm most of the way through the first hand. I have the sweater that I am making for my coworker's deceased mother-in-law. Haven't done anything with, and I was thinking about it, and it'd be awesome as a gift. I originally said for Mother's Day, but like, that's this weekend. It's not happening. But for Father's Day, because it's for my coworker's husband. It was his mother who died when he was a child, and I don't know, as an excuse to give it as a gift, why not Father's Day? And that's a nice arbitrary, what do you call it? Deadline. It's mid-June. I could do it. It's a children's sweater in like Let Lopey. It's pretty thick. Like, I got through the whole sleeve, and then I got mad at myself and ripped it back out because I had not paid attention to color dominance, because I hadn't done. That was the thing that really got me started on Fair Isle knitting again. Color work was I did that, and then I went, oh wait, I forgot color dominance is a thing, and I wasn't paying attention. And that one was 3 strand. Wow. And that one was 3-stranded color work also. So that was my first foray into it. It made me realize that I had forgotten. And then the only other thing on my list was a friend of mine was getting rid of her yarn stash because she is not a knitter and had a partially finished scarf. And I was thinking about ways that it would be fun to like finish it and give it back. It is this long. It would be very easy to just sew the ends together and have a cowl, or like even flip it and sew it together so it's like a Mobius. Can I reach it from here? Yeah, I can. See? Skady Gaga made this scarf all by herself. I had nothing to do with it thus far. And she gave me more balls of yarn so I could continue it. I even have one of the needles, so I know that she was knitting on a 10.5. I could continue it and give her back like a enormous scarf, but look, if I just flip it and attach as though it was sewn together, like, this is a decent, it's almost a little too long, but so I was also thinking about about increasing enough that it could then be attached as a cowl into a doubled cowl situation, and still give it back to her. And she probably doesn't want it, but I can't help it. I must rescue the knitted things that are being abandoned. In terms of other projects on my project page, I have that crochet blanket. I haven't worked on that in a while, but that's because with crochet I have to look at it. I've been doing other things. Taylor Earle of the Wool Needles Hands podcast talked me into buying a book. Oh, what's it called? Book seat. Look at this thing. Look at this big ridiculous thing. The book seat. But it works really well because even big monsters. Speaking of my completionist era, I went back to a book that I had started and given up on in January and slogged along a little bit more, and suddenly it's getting good. I knew it would be good. I loved The Martian so much. I think, have I read it twice? I don't think I've read it twice, but I've watched a movie a bunch of times since I read it. Of course, that might be more about Matt Damon, but the story is well done. But like, look at it here. This monster-sized book fits boop in this bad boy, and then I can put this in my lap and read and knit at the same time, because that is the thing I know how to do. It makes me so happy, and it makes the possibility of me actually reading my own insane collection of books slightly larger. So there's another reason why I want easy knitting patterns that are, miles of stockinette, because then I can do all the things at the same time. I can walk and chew gum and pat my head and rub my tummy. Yeah. I am jumping all over the place today, and I'm sorry. I'm a little bit of a chaos gremlin. I hope you're along for the ride with me. What I was going to say in terms of things that I was thinking about purchasing, or allowing myself to even consider purchasing while I'm at the Shepherd's Harvest Festival, is roll eggs. I have tons and tons and tons of raw wool, and I now have a beautiful drum carder. So as far as carded prep, like wool bats, I can do that on my own. I have combed top, lots of it from last year that I haven't finished spinning yet, and with working on longdraw, I've discovered that the roll eggs that I made myself are pretty subpar, and I would really love somebody's professionally made options as a fun way to continue my spinning journey. So that was the thing that I was thinking about looking for. And maybe one more spindle because I can't help myself, but probably not. They tend to be more expensive than I can afford at regular price, and I did that once. I don't know if I ever can again. But yeah, probably I will get suckered into buying like a whole sweater's quantity of something because I just can't help myself. What else? What else is there? So, yeah, works in progress wise, I have circled back into some of my like deep stash. Oh, I know. I was going to tell you about things I am plotting and planning because I've also been trying to use my Ravelry queue as a way to like keep track of what I'm actually planning to make. And the mini mock neck was on there. It's still on there. Oh, the tank toppy things that I mentioned are on there. But the top of the list is actually making a sock for my stick shift. A gear shift sock, if you will. Because it would just be an easy little win. Like it's not a big project. It would not take very long. And then in the wintertime, sometimes I actually put a mitten over my gear shift rather than put mittens on my hands. I have like a big, ridiculous, fluffy cover for my steering wheel, and that keeps my hands relatively warm because I have trouble keeping my mittens on my hands when I'm driving. My mom would always get these like driving gloves leather. And I don't have those either, but I don't know, she might still do that. I wouldn't be surprised. But anyway, I wanted to make, and now it's going to be summer, so I didn't really need it, but I wanted to make a gear shift sock. So that is the top of my queue. And then I was going to say second in line, but Woolen Pine just came out with a new DK weight V-neck sweater that I've forgotten the name of, and it uses wide stripes, and I'm a sucker for stripes. But also, my DK collection consists of so many random one-off skeins, and I was looking at them and go, well, these all go together really well, and they would do fantastic for just this sort of thing. So that was inspiring me to think about how I could, because a lot of the like hesitation I have with casting on, like that was why this was such a good big win for me, why I'm feeling so good, like I accomplished the thing, because I have what's the opposite of buyer's remorse? Like I have what do I want to call it? I have a really good capacity to say no to myself in a shopping situation when I don't have money. And I have been broke plenty of times in my life when I'm trying to yarn shop, or felt broke enough that I had to say no. And so what I end up doing is just buying one skein of something that I can't get again just because I want to try it. And then I never do anything with it because I only have one. And I want to make a sweater and I only have one of these, not a sweater's quantity. So now what? And that stupidity has led to me having mass quantities of single skeins of yarn and not really a good idea of what to do with them. And Wool and Pine also has a wonderful sweater called the Sea Glass, which is basically like stash buster extraordinaire, but I don't want to use whole skeins of yarn for that. I want to use it for stash busty stuff because that makes more sense to me. So in the meantime, I need to use what I have and then collect little bits and bobs that can go into the Sea Glass, which I haven't cast on yet, but that's also in the queue. Port Townsend, that is the name of this new sweater, and it like checks all my boxes. It's a DK weight sweater. It's a V-neck. I love a V-neck. It's got stripes. I love stripes. The DK weight means I finished it so fast. I mean, look at how fast I got this one done. It's not even a cardigan, so I don't have to worry about button bands and stuff. Like, I could knock that sucker out by next month. I just needed to pick colors and cast on. Well, and I'm actually going to swatch because I haven't made any Wool and Pine patterns before. So, like with Andrea Mowry, I meet gauge. Like, I can just use what she suggests, and I'm fine. And I know this. We're on the same wavelength in terms of how we knit, so that's fine. But yeah, Jessie Maid and I obviously are on different wavelengths because that went terribly wrong. So gauge swatching is necessary at least the first time you knit somebody's patterns, right? Maybe that's the rule I could stick to. Yeah, so I'm feeling pretty good right now in terms of being on my completionist mission. Oh, this book, the reason I brought the book into play and was talking about it is because I am calling this episode in my completionist era is because I wanted to also talk about, like, are you a completionist? I am totally a completionist. I hate not finishing entire series and books. And if I accidentally start in the middle, I'll go back to the beginning and start from the beginning, and sometimes even reread the one book that I had started that was in the middle so that I can continue on down the series. And sometimes that ends up being a lot. Like, if you're into Regency romance and you have heard of Stephanie Lawrence, her series are, I mean, she's probably into the 30s. And I think the first book that I picked up ever, she got me started in romance reading, really, was probably book 12 in the series. And then I tried to go back to book 1, but I had found book 12 at the library and they didn't have book 1. So then I had to like hunt it down. Oh, in the earliest vestiges of the thrift books era, where it was like I could buy the book for a penny, but then they charged me $3.99 in shipping, which is so dumb. And I must have bought like 5 or 10 of the books like that, which is expensive, but I couldn't figure out any other way to buy it. Like, couldn't even find it brand new. And yeah, so I've read through at least the whole first section of the series, and now there's a bunch of offshoots, and I mostly have gotten through all of those. And every time a new one comes out or I realize that I've missed one, I'm like, oh, I've got to read it, even though like I'm sort of over it. Sometimes I go back and read one because there are a couple of them that I really liked, like the best. And yeah, that was while I was knitting this, I was rereading 3 Regency romances that are comfort food for my brain. And one of them was Stephanie Lawrence, and the other 2 were Eloisa James, and I love them both. Yeah, Nalini Singh, if you have not read the Psy Changeling series and you want a little like fantasy romance, it's like it's not fantasy like, you know, in another kingdom, in another realm. It's like if the earth also happened to have shapeshifters and people who are telekinetic as well as humans, what would that be like? But also a romance novel. They're pretty fun. And there are also like 20 of those at least. And I have read all of them, except maybe the last, like the most recent one that just came out, which I'll get to it eventually. I can't help myself. I must complete them all. I'm so glad that I never got into Pokemon because I would still be collecting those. I mean, I tried to do Pokemon Go for a little while, but that's different. It was making me crazy because I was never going to collect them all. And I didn't have the time or the bandwidth as an adult with a job. Just couldn't. Oh my gosh, what am I rambling about? Yeah. So with knitting, for me, it's completing the project, I guess, that is the completionist bit. In terms of like, am I going to try to make every single thing that a designer that I favor has designed? No. So far, that's not part of it, which is good. Because I can't keep up, can't afford it, I'm not always on the same wavelength with their aesthetics as they change, as they change their aesthetics. So that I'm happy to say that I have avoided for the most part. I am obviously a little heavy on the Andrea Mowry playlist, but I do like her aesthetics. And Caitlin Hunter, I was like completionist in purchasing her patterns early in my knitting career, but how many of her patterns have I made? One. Yeah. And I have 1 on the needles. So there's 2, but I own... She has been like perpetually doing like a buy 3 get 1 free or buy 4 get 1 free pattern deal, and I think I did like double that as my initial purchase, and then didn't cast on a single thing for ages. Like, was planning to make wow, okay. I'm really trying to do some like deep memory diving right now, and it's not working. Whatever. And it was, it was all influenced by YouTubers who had made everything of hers and loved her terribly. And oh my gosh, their aesthetics and my aesthetics were not necessarily the same, but I wanted to do what they were doing because I'm a joiner sometimes. Even when I'm not most of the time. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. Okay. I have been rambling for almost an hour. I always feel like at the end of these, I'm always like, what am I even talking about? I always want to talk about a subject You know, not just like, look, I made this, but also like, look, I've been thinking about this. Or, you know, there's some rhyme to my reason. Something. Um, but being in my completionist era means that I need to stop talking and start doing. Um, and so I've got other things to do, and I hope you do too. Thanks for coming to hang out with me, friends. I hope that you are having a lovely day, and I will see you again soon. Bye.